This is Weather or Not.
All right, welcome into the Wednesday edition of Weather or Not. I am Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold.
And I'm meteorologist Andrew Dockery. A busy afternoon and evening going to be ahead with some storms approaching.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for the last 24 hours or so. Kind of a really common setup around here in the summer. Big heat waves end with a big bang in the form of storms, and that's what we're going to be looking at as we head into this afternoon and evening.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give you the first alert. One of those scenarios, too, where our confidence in this feels pretty good.
It does.
We've seen this enough times to say, hey, we have the storm fuel and there's a trigger to kind of light the fuse and watch it expand.
And that is likely what it is going to do and blow up in a big way, a noisy way this afternoon. We've got that level 2 risk of severe storms in place. Dangerous lightning going to be an issue, but also a risk for some damaging winds. And that storm setup all starts with the heat that we've been sweating through for the past couple of days.
Yeah, and really this is going to be a scenario where the heat index is going to climb this afternoon, 105, 110. Temperatures are going to be warm again as well. And this time, low pressure, upper level low sits there and just acts like a trigger. A couple of isolated storms start to turn into a bigger issue as we head into it.
Yeah, it does. And this is the storm fuel map. And I don't think since we've been using this, we've seen it quite this maxed out. Notice it is all the way over there into the extreme range. That deep purple you see across our entire area, that is extreme amounts of storm fuel. That storm fuel is basically all the heat and the humidity that is in play.
Yeah, so you have the storm fuel, you have the heat, the humidity. All you need is something to pop. It's how it is.
Yeah, the atmosphere today, you got a big pile of brush, you throw a can of gasoline on it, and it's just kind of sitting there waiting for somebody to flick the match.
And as we go into future radar, here's where I think that initiates. Notice we'll go into midday into the early afternoon, couple light showers. Honestly, may not even have a lightning right away, really start to trickle to the south, and that's where we start to see near the peak heating here. Yeah, things blow up and blow up quickly.
Yeah, this is at 4 o'clock, and notice how those storms may tend to kind of line up. Also notice they're going to be moving in a somewhat unusual direction, actually moving from the northeast to the southwest across our area. So that's a little unusual, but you can see here as we head from 4 o'clock into 5 o'clock, those storms really blow up. And one thing that we've been talking about here internally is watching how those storms interact with wherever the sea breeze is across Horry County. Anytime you have storms moving in from the north and a sea breeze, you can get kind of some funky things to happen. And we may see some particularly intense storms that try to flare up wherever that sea breeze is, likely somewhere central or northern Horry County. That's going to be a hot spot that we watch, but all of us at least are fair game for some thunderstorm activity, some of it strong to severe, and then beginning to wind down as we work our way into the late evening hours with just an isolated shower, but then quickly diminishing once we head to the overnight hours tonight. So those storm threats, it's unusual that we put lightning as a severe storm threat. Lightning doesn't technically define a severe thunderstorm. All thunderstorms have lightning. The reason we did it is because today's thunderstorms probably going to have some extreme lightning.
Yeah, I could easily see this being 4,000, 5,000 lightning strikes in the past half hour. I think we're setting up for that. The question is where does that start? And I think once it does, it's going to be a lot of lightning and a lot of big boomers is what we like to call them in Kentucky.
Yeah, they are going to be very noisy. They are going to be very electrified. And with all of that storm fuel that we were talking about, that's a really great setup for microbursts. So wind is the next threat. Likely going to see some trees blown down, maybe some spotty power outages from those storms. And even despite temperatures into the 90s to near 100, it always amazes people that hail can fall from the sky on a 100-degree afternoon. But yeah, we may see some hail in the strongest of the storms. I don't think hail is the main threat, but wouldn't be surprised to see maybe some dime to quarter size hail in one or two of those storms this afternoon.
Yeah, just want to reiterate, tornado threat, you notice it's not on there. Flooding threat, not going to be on there. This is going to be a big lightning threat with some wind that we will go through. All right, speaking of the atmosphere and how it's been a big story for this week, while we're waiting for storms this afternoon, it's another day of heat. And you might catch yourself saying, yeah, it feels like the hottest June ever. But is it? Meteorologist Matt Bullock has a look at today's weather workshop.
You think this week's heat is the hottest temperatures we've seen all year round? Compare that to historic heat waves we've seen in the past. It's completely nothing. And one of the most historic heat waves we've seen was back in 2012. From June 29th through July 9th, this was the most widespread heat wave across the country. It resulted in 82 deaths across the country. We actually saw the highest temperature ever recorded in the state of South Carolina as the University of South Carolina in Columbia reached 113 degrees. Then we had the heat wave of 2007. It was starting from August 3rd through August 25th. It brought the warmest daily average here across the Carolinas. 51 deaths were reported across the country, 2 of them in the Palmetto State. Columbia, South Carolina had the highest daily average on record at 93 degrees on August 10th. And basically that means with the high temperature and the low temperature combined, you divide that by 2 and you get 93 degrees. Still holds the record to this day. And then 1983, from August 17th through August 25th, 15 deaths were reported across the Carolinas and 600,000 turkeys died in North Carolina. Also, temperatures reached at 105 degrees on August 22nd, which is the hottest day in the Grand Strand on record. And talk about some of the hottest days on record here across our viewing area. Society Hill has the record nearly a century ago at 110 degrees, followed by Darlington, Hartsville, and Kingstree, Marion at 108 degrees. Georgetown has 106 degrees dating back from 2008. So again, temperatures may be hot this week, but it's nothing compared to what we've seen in the past. Matt Bullock, WNBF News.
Ugh, those are ugly numbers. You know I hate the summer.
That's
and just,
temperature.
Yeah, that's just the temperature. That ain't got nothing to do with the humidity. That is just the temperature. Thankfully, nothing like that, at least anytime soon. But let's jump into our Coast to Coast segment. We'll start off with temperature extremes. Death Valley, yeah, no surprise here. It was like a repeat performance. Death Valley, 115 yesterday. McKay, did we decide, is it Mackey or McKay?
Mackey.
Mackey, Idaho, 29.
We could say, okay, I'm done with
Yeah,
it. 29. Okay, Idaho. Yeah, 29. Maybe we would go there for this week. Let's take you to the home, and we'll go southeast first. You'll notice just a cluster of showers going to be kind of lingering out over the Atlantic. You'll have some clouds around it. I've thrown a rain chance in for tomorrow. At this point, isolated stray shower storm. Kind of think that's what we're going to be riding as we go to the rest of the week. It's hot, but it's not as hot.
Yeah, it's normal hot. We're going to go from the heat wave over the past couple of days to what you would typically expect here for late June. That's going to be upper 80s, low 90s for most of our area, low to mid 90s from Florida all the way through the deep south. And again, that's nothing too out of the ordinary. Into the northeast we go for tomorrow. It's pretty quiet. Cluster showers, maybe a couple of storms there riding their way through central New York. Could have some bigger storms across parts of Pennsylvania down into Baltimore and D.C. Could pick up a couple of storms, but after a couple of days of some brutal heat there, also breaking the heat wave. It's been up around 100 from Boston down all the way to Baltimore and D.C. How about Boston tomorrow? 65 degrees. I'll take that.
Yeah, nice and cool up there, certainly for June. Let's continue as we go out to the Midwest. You'll notice a lot of clouds, some showers up there in the Great Lakes, and even a couple of storms. Actually going to be watching for a low-end severe weather risk out there as they go into Thursday across Iowa and you go up toward Green Bay, Wisconsin. But other than that, temperature-wise, yeah, all going to be driven by heating up the atmosphere for those storms. 90s there in Des Moines, 96 in Omaha, but compared to what they had about a week ago,
Yeah.
they'll take this.
Yeah,
90s aren't bad.
Yeah, 96 in Omaha, not bad at all after that 103 they were dealing with back over the weekend. Plenty of humidity across East Texas, plenty of nothing across most of Arizona. A couple of mountain storms firing up there across the southern range of the Rockies across New Mexico. A couple of pop-up storms in Texas. Otherwise, just normal kind of heat here, and even that heat, not too bad. Notice not many 100s showing up across Texas. Phoenix, 106. That's actually below normal for them. So a little cool spell there in the desert Southwest.
Cool with 100, triple digits there. Let's go out to the West Coast and remind you as we continue to look at what should be a pretty quiet weather pattern. High pressure going to be parked basically as you go across California and Utah. And you'll notice a lot of sinking air and temperatures. Not too bad. Decent little spread here as we go into the forecast tomorrow, Jamie.
Yeah, looks pretty good. 80s, 90s across the Mountain West. It's actually a little bit cool for them as well. Kind of typically how things happen across the country. The East Coast is hot, the West Coast is cool, and it kind of rocks back and forth. They're enjoying the cool for now.
Yeah, from the West Coast to the East Coast. If you have something you want us to see or you want to send us a photo or maybe you want to stay updated with the storms this afternoon, scan the QR code. It will take you to our free WNBF First Alert weather app. If you want to send us a photo of storms today, some damage, shelf cloud, you can go to the very bottom of that First Alert weather app and there is a submit a photo tab there. And who knows, maybe you might see your photos here on whether or not sometime this week. Of course, we're going to have team coverage on, once again, some storms this afternoon and evening, and I can't wait to hopefully get out and look at some of them.
Yeah, I think we're lining up for a good day for shelf clouds, so probably going to have a lot of shelfies coming in. We're going to have Jace and Maddie B going to be out in the storm chaser this afternoon. Myself and Jenna going to be here in the studio watching storms, and again, it's not a big severe weather as far as tornadoes and giant hail, but it's just one of those days where I think those storms are probably pretty disruptive heading into this afternoon and evening. So we're going to be on top of that, and hopefully we can share some of those pictures and not too much damage coming up on tomorrow's episode.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for whether or not. For now, enjoy the heat, and we'll get back to normal programming starting tomorrow.